And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Than Bitcoin podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Dabauskas. And a little summary. Right now, or why I feel I'm making a good podcast episode is because Bitcoin is at a turning point right now where I have two possible Elliott wave counts that could play out, or three technically. But we're at a pivot point of where if Bitcoin is in a range right now, and if Bitcoin can break above a range, then bullishness can continue. If it breaks below the range, then we have some bearish counts that would possibly play out. But before I go into today's Bitcoin analysis, I want to share with you about this cool analysis platform called Footprint. With Footprint, you can create these cool charts and dashboards to visualize and organize blockchain data. You don't need any special coding background required since the UI is super user-friendly. Like this little dashboard here that I like, it was made by a user named Sully Lee that shows the metrics behind all the DeFi protocols and shows charts to compare total value locked and a project's established market cap. By using these metrics, I can also figure out what projects are fundamentally undervalued. And then I can take these fundamentally undervalued projects and then take a look at the charts to possibly find good trade ideas. But for example, all this data is one giant database of all this data, all these different DeFi platforms, and it's all queried using SQL. And the UI makes it so that you don't really have to interact with the SQL if you don't want to. Yeah, that was a cool thing to share. Now getting into the Bitcoin analysis, the meat and potatoes of today. Basically, this is a little chart software I like called MotiveWave, and I've been using free trials here and there when I make a new email account for different purposes. But to show the Elliott wave count, I have three possible scenarios, and my main scenario being in the white count, alternate one scenario being in blue, and then super ultra bearish count being in red. Basically, on the last episode of the Better Than Bitcoin podcast, I was accumulating Bitcoin at around 42K range in this little chop zone in late September 2021. And I right then started to see Bitcoin break out of that little downtrend that it was in. And it started to just keep rising from there. I rode my position from around 42.5-ish average entry to around 66K. And then in this gigantic wick right here, there's like a 15% wick that I had a trailing stop loss. And I kept moving my stop loss up and up as more and more support levels or resistance levels being flipped into support. And I got stopped out from that massive wick right there. And then Bitcoin started to range more. As I saw Bitcoin starting to range more, I saw it as a potential for one more leg up. We did get one more nominal leg up to a high of 69K, which is honestly funny. I think traders just memed that into existence. But I started to accumulate again in this little range area. And I didn't really have a stop loss this time because I was burned from the first stop loss. So I've been kind of accumulating. I started to accumulate more in this 56, 57K area. And then we had that massive liquidation event right here where all supports were broken in one go. So making this hard, that liquidation event that happened in early December recently, it kind of makes it hard to count on an Elliott wave perspective. For the time being, I want to count this as 5 waves down off the nominal high. Almost seeing that nominal high as a B wave because this has to be a ending diagonal in this larger fourth. Let's zoom out. Anything that's a whole lot more messy. But basically, just so I can see the count. I'll send that out later. Basically, have the June 2021 low as a major wave 4, looking for one final leg up in fifth, whether that target's going to be at 105 or wherever. But basically, I'm trying to count out and figure out where this target's going to be. But as Bitcoin had that massive liquidation event, it brought up some alternate scenarios. Basically, obviously, there is the zone that Bitcoin 1 wicked down to and started to hold its support before in late November on the 53K to 56K support zone that was just located through all the way down to almost 40. It was looking down to 40K. So back in that accumulation zone that I usually started at. Basically, Bitcoin needs to hold above that breakout zone back in early October. And it's pretty much dancing on top of it right now. And it seems weird to me to count that as an impulse up as a 1-2. But this is the last draw. This technically did not make a new low off of this low right here. So this ending diagonal setup with an A, B, C, or a wave 3 starting from the impulse up from here. Not impulse up, I mean the ending of diagonal up. So the 3-wave movement, three. This is like the last straw. Bitcoin needs to hold above this low it made in the liquidation event, 40,000 something. Needs to hold above that recent low to make this ending diagonal bullish setup still technically valid. If it breaks below this support right here, which was previously the area that we broke above, rapidly to kind of signify that this little downtrend in September was over. It needs to hold that level, because otherwise if it breaks below that level, one, we'll have to retrace of this one. Wave one here. One, if it breaks below this little blue box, that started to become like a deep wave 2 after 42.4. Once it breaks below that, it doesn't really become a 1-2 anymore. And it starts to form into this being invalid. Therefore, this impulse down being invalid, this B wave being invalid, therefore the entire bullish setup to be invalid. So literally this is the last straw before a bearish count. But there's entirely possible that even though similar to when we made a new high right here, even though I count this as a smaller B wave, similar to the macro sense, this was a new nominal high, almost like that same count right here. This was a nominal high, kind of at the top of wave 3, and it was just bearish divergences all the way down as Bitcoin is still grinding up and making new highs. So I counted that as a B wave that went above the 3 before going down. This was also a B wave that went above the 5 of A, which went down. And this can also, in the macro sense, can also be a larger B. I don't know why I threw that 3 right there. This could be a larger B wave looking for lower from here. The thing is, projecting it out Elliott wave wise, we only get a target of slightly below this. So technically, it's weird to say, we can technically lose this blue box. As long as we don't make a new low below, let's see what that number is. As long as you don't make a new low below 40,150, which is the low of that liquidation event, and the low of September 22nd of 39,579. We don't go below there. We don't go below there. We can still have a leg down. That'd be a truncated fifth, slightly truncated fifth. The end of the C in a larger wave 4. That count is more iffy on that side. I still have to figure this out, but key being I want Bitcoin to hold 45K to 44K if it wants to continue going up. Even then, if it wants to continue going up, I want to see it pivot above 56.3 and 54K. Break above that breakdown zone that we got from that liquidation event. Once we break back above that, honestly, in a macro sense, it looks like this downtrend is over. As we make a new high, nominal high, local nominal. I mean, what else? Yeah, because if it broke above that, therefore, it goes back above this wave 4 would be above where that wave one would have ended, and therefore it's invalid. So just putting that wave forward just below that, because we can technically go visit this resistance. We can technically go and visit this resistance and still make it leg down. So that's one thing I'm looking for. And alternate count is super bearish, which seems a little absurd to have Bitcoin do an extended third downwards, but Bitcoin can really surprise the downside, but we can surprise the upside. That would project out, that's projecting out too far, which would just make the projections change if it were to take this route. That's just a low of 24K, which is almost around retesting the previous 2017 all-time high. Yeah. So yeah, that's a little update for Bitcoin. I want to see it hold, a little summary. I want to see it hold about 45.6 to 44. I want to see it break above 53.8 to 56.5. The only tricky part is that most people see this as a trading range and will just layer in sellers at the resistance and layering buyers at support. And Bitcoin can just ping between here and just go sideways for maximum ping. But another telltale sign that I like to see is on the daily. That's messing up my chart a lot. Not really. On the daily, Bitcoin's making closing lower and lower and lower as RSI is starting to lift up. So that is also a very good bullish divergence to see in this scenario, because we saw a similar thing with back in September as Bitcoin was closing secondly lower and sideways as RSI was making higher lows. So that was a tremendous thing to see. We're hopefully nearing the end of this correction. Yeah, let's go back to 4 hour. One last thing I want to go over is some Bitcoin mining stocks. So if I minus, oh, there we go. Okay. So Riot and Hive. Riot is in some weird complex structure. I have Riot as a larger 1-2 with a major wave 3 top back in the February 2021 crypto top. I have an alternate, this alternate count keeps getting broken and broken because we can't really have a 1-2 that's almost more than percent off the low, and this would be a really sideways for a wave 1, which is why I have that as an alternate, the immediately bullish count as an alternate. And I have Riot almost seeing a new nominal low to pretty much put in a new low for a larger wave 4. Yeah, I mean, Riot's underperformance in comparison to other miners has been kind of frustrating for me because Riot was the one that I picked to invest in other ones, my personal account and in Cobalt account. And that's been doing for us. We're going sideways, nothing but sideways. The sideways range we're in is like a gigantic range from $20 to 46. So we just get wild fluctuations. Nothing really special for Riot. I just want to see it put in a new low, which can pretty much get as low as 20 a share to 70 and still be valid for putting a new low for this wave 4. But it's just whether or not this next leg down like a micro 5 or but new 5 would be ideal. Yeah, that's pretty much Riot. It's just kind of waiting and sitting and waiting and seeing how that unfolds. Hive, a little more complex, but there's 2 scenarios for Hive. Initially, I saw Hive as getting a larger B wave to put in a new low for potential low 4. But what do you call it? Yeah, I just want to see Hive break back above 3. Oh, this is also on Canadian. I actually tried this on Canadian. So yeah, I want to see Hive break back above 347 Canadian and potentially get a new wave 4 high. That'd potentially be a zone to de-risk. As well as if you get a larger wave 2 pullback before going lower and lower, this would be a pivot zone that would kind of break the white count and break the blue count to make an immediate bullish count. Which you can see which kind of implied that 4 was already in either way back here or so. Because market structure wise, Hive is holding up way better. And this is a crypto downturn. But yeah, that's pretty much all for this little Bitcoin market update. Much all for this Bitcoin market update. Yeah, nothing really complex. If you want some more analyses or want to keep up to date, I will be at home this winter break and I'll be working on some trading algorithms. So I'll be tweeting a lot more. I'll be now analyzing a lot more charts, vice versa. So if you want to see all that, follow me on Twitter at Jamie Dabowskis. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.